It can be. It really can. You can be very lonely in wrestling. But if you have, good people in your life, good people in wrestling, you associate with the right people, you can actually make a dream come true and not have to be lonely your whole life. And not necessarily lonely as in, your actual life, but going through a sport where you're traveling every other weekend to every weekend, you're gonna be pretty alone if you're just doing singles wrestling here and there. And you're gonna meet some people. You're gonna do, you're gonna do car trips. You're gonna do this and that. But when you do it with the same person every single time, that's really what makes it special.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I was looking at my list that I have a record of every match. Kind of mixed tag matches every once in a while where you don't really know the other person's style and you don't know what they have to offer and trying to put something together. It really comes down to getting that repetition in. We've trained together, talking about the women's evolution and the uprising of that. We train with a ton of women who are just becoming the most badass wrestlers who are going to, without a doubt, take the world by storm one day. So it's, it's definitely making a turn for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, folks, we're joined by Mayhem Merlin and Carlos Gabriel. One of the big topics, obviously, this week, or really this year at the very beginning, is the announcement of All Elite Wrestling. And for the wrestling marketplace, it's only going to make everybody better. Everybody's going to get hungrier. People are making a living, off of pro wrestling again. And, I could tell you from people I've talked to in the past that they would tell me like, oh, well, you can make a living working three shows a week and whatever. And for a while that kind of died down. Now you're at that point again where people, men and women alike, are doing that again. And it's awesome. It's great for the economy, for the pro wrestling economy, if you will. And I didn't even notice this until I actually interviewed Barrington and Santeria Cortez last week, and Dan Ragu. And I was doing a little more research. The Florida scene, by itself is it's alive. It's popping very well. I wanted to ask you about the Florida scene in particular. Is there anything else that would be contributing to such a big wrestling scene down in Florida other than the obvious with WWE's Performance Center down in Orlando?
I think it's just honestly, it's just the booming in independent wrestling here. You'll have, you have people, I'm sorry, you have so many schools here in Florida. You have Gangrel running a school, Team 3D running a school, Team Vision in Orlando, Pro Wrestling 2.0. There's schools everywhere.
WWN Network has a school now,
right?
Matt Seidel.
Oh wow, okay.
Doing a ton of stuff.
Yeah, they're doing, they're training and practicing there all the time. You have pretty much so many schools here that can find talent anywhere, and I think that's why the pro wrestling here in Florida is booming.
You've also got people like Trevor Reed of Tech. He has his own ring, and having the ability to transport that as well. We have one from our school that we can move around a bit. Being able to take a ring literally anywhere in Florida and set it up and put on a show is only going to help the industry. I never really thought about it too much, but in Florida, you don't need to have a license or anything like that. So I think it just makes it a little easier for people to be able to get out and wrestle. Also the fact that Florida is as big as it is, we're from the center of the state, and we drove over 6 hours to a show that was still technically in Florida the other day. We went all the way up to the Panhandle. Carlos he calls it Alabama because we went to another time zone and it was so far away in Florida, but it was still technically part of that Florida independent wrestling.
I'm gonna call it Alabama because if I'm taking a nap in the car and I'm still waking up in Florida, it's Alabama.
Yeah. So I think just the size of the state itself is something to contribute. And
it's just even that, hitting it in the nail right there. You have all these people so hungry to just do a show. he said it right there. Like Trevor Reed, they're running pro wrestling, and that's probably one of the biggest shows I did here, like in Florida. They were nice enough to welcome me into doing one of their pre-shows not that long ago, and like there was just like Florida fans are hungry. They're hungry for that kind of wrestling, and I don't think a lot of people are taking those chances, and then out of nowhere you have MLW like rising out of nowhere, starting here in Florida again, and you see the potential. I mean, they're selling out shows here in Florida, and then they're traveling, selling out shows in New York and Chicago. That started here in Florida. So with shows like that, where you're catering to that fan here in Florida, it's really what's gonna make it boom.
Now
Impact was based here for a while too,
yeah,
like right here in Orlando.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Most of the shows is super easy to get to. You go to Universal right there in the Universal Studios, and then you're right there. You're at a show. Like I think when I first got here, we went to one of their tapings, and honestly, like it was so professionally made and like catered to such a specific fan that it worked well.
Having all this opportunity here in Orlando gives those people who are fans, an opportunity to say, okay, do I, have what it takes to maybe step into the ring? Because at the end of the day, we all started as fans, and that's what turned us into these wrestlers and entertainers and whatever you want to call us. But, we all had to enjoy it, and we all had to watch it somewhere. And I think having that, that easy accessibility in Orlando to everything just kind of keeps folding in on itself and creating a bigger and better product.
Yeah, absolutely.
You ain't gotta be so big.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta be so big. 6 hours is still big.
Florida.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I gotta be honest. I completely forgot that Impact was in Orlando for God knows how long, because now I'm so used to them taping so many shows in like Vegas or taping shows in Mexico and everything else like that. Now I forget that for God knows how long they were over in Orlando. But to me it's like, you see WrestleMania going to Florida all the time, like all the time. Like that WrestleMania 36 is rumored to be back in Florida. My best guess would be probably Miami at that new the Dolphin Stadium out there. But yeah, I never really thought. I'm like, okay, well, it's nice weather there and everything. I never been. I'm only going by assumption. But I didn't realize it was one of those things. It's 20 degrees and breezy. Like I'm freezing my ass off over here. I mean, I might as well be living in Alaska.
It's like 55 over here. I'm just complaining out of my head.
Don't complain. You don't want to be here for this weather. I can promise you that. But anyway, so yeah, I never really put two and two together with that, like with how Florida is so big and everything that's down there. But yeah, no, I found it very fascinating because, again,
you were right with
the whole WrestleMania thing. Like when WrestleMania came down here, there was a show every hour. And that honestly probably brought a lot of products over here back to Florida. I unfortunately missed it. I was currently in Indiana when, right before WrestleMania weekend. But when I came down, like, I think I landed at the airport. I drove to one of the schools, and there was, like, a show going on. And they literally just looked at me, like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, all right, get in.
Yeah.
Like that was 20 minutes of me being home.
It was a little too early. It was a little too early for me to start wrestling. I had been training for probably about 5 months at the time. So I wasn't quite ready for the ring yet, but I worked a lot of ring crew that week. I think I set up 4, maybe 5 rings in a 3-day span. We had an issue with like one of our trucks breaking down, so we had to carry everything from a ring, like from one parking lot to another, and found a storage space for us to leave it overnight, or like drive it or walk it over to the truck. Like,
I missed all that.
Yeah.
See, like here in New Jersey, right? It's a lot of there's a lot of companies out of here, but a lot of them run out of the same few buildings because those are the few buildings that'll run wrestling. For whatever reason or another. Like, you don't need a license to be a wrestler here or anything else that mattered. New York either, but you do need a doctor in New York present at shows at all times. It's the whole athletic commission BS, but that's for another time. Yeah, but like I'm looking at the event schedule right now for WrestleMania coming up, and I mean you have everybody here from WXW, Evolve, MLW TV tapings, Kaiju Big Battle, WrestleCon, Jakar, Shimmer, IPW UK. I mean it's the Janela spring breaks, everything. Like it's become such a it's really amazing. And I love WrestleMania weekend for the worker standpoint because now it gives you a chance to really get out there. I mean, you're working all year anyway, but this is the real opportunity to be like, all right, if I'm booked for a WrestleMania weekend show, like now I'm I guess in my eyes it would be like, okay, now I'm definitely gonna be seen by somebody. So it's definitely become that important for a wrestler to get booked on a WrestleMania show. You know what I mean?
And not even just a WrestleMania show, as many as you can. Like
yes, absolutely.
8 or 9 shows over the span of 4 days. Like, Sami Callihan talked about it once, where he worked. He ran his own show and then went over to another show that night, and he just didn't stop the entire weekend he was there. We got a lot of guys who are busting their ass just like he does, and the more you can get out there, the more exposure you're gonna get. Obviously, the better it's gonna end up for you. So yeah, WrestleMania is just like you said. We've got all these promotions that are running shows. You got to try and get on as many of them as you possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, that's definitely key. You got to show people you want it, and I'm thinking of like being a server for God knows how long. The reference of like, all right, the holiday time, you're working 2 shifts a day basically to get all this stuff going. But yeah, that's like the wrestler's point of view for over there. Anyway, Rodney Air with Mayhem Merlin, Carlos Gabriel. Again, gentlemen, thank you for the time, and I'll ask you a question or two more, and then. I feel like I've already taken enough of your time. But anyway, okay, so you both are still pretty. I mean, Merlin, you're basically a baby in the business right now. But Carlos, you're only here about. I think you're going on year 5. So, what else is there left that you want? I mean, obviously you're very young in your careers, but what is your end game? Like, is there an end game anymore with the way that pro wrestling is right now? You could basically make a living being independent now. Whereas the end game for everybody, I mean, when I first started doing this show about 8 years ago, end game for everybody was either TNA, WWE. Now that's completely changed. So is there an end game for you guys? What is the end game for you guys? What do you guys wish to accomplish in wrestling going forward? I'll start with Merlin on this one.
So again, like you said, I'm fairly new to the business, so I'm not really thinking about an end game at this point. I'm just getting started, and I feel like having an end game and having a plan, to finish things it's too early for me to be thinking about that. I will say that I have, let's say, some high goals. Obviously. WWE is the big thing that everybody's talking about, but with AEW coming out, that's changing the whole game. Who's to say that wouldn't be something that I would like to, maybe not necessarily finish my career with, but end up with at some point. I've also been a huge fan of Ring of Honor for a while, so I would love to be able to, get an opportunity to work over there. But when it comes to an actual end game, like being done with things, I don't even want to think about it at this point. I'm still young and I've got a lot to offer. So that's my stance on that.
I can agree with that one. Just because I'm not gonna lie, I personally want to do it all. If you have a promotion and it's running, let me know. I'm there. And that's I mean, we can definitely agree with that one. Like, we both want to get out there. We both want to do things. My end game, though, is to one day not be sitting in an office, and so I can just wrestle, work out, and just not have to worry about work. I want to make money out of wrestling because it's my favorite thing to do in the world. Like when I'm in the ring, it's a totally different person than the person you're talking to right now. It kind of just clicks, and yeah, I mean, I just want to do it all, man. Like I do